Hey everybody, this is AzrielSword 1.
And this is Shippryuu.
And it is the end of Bleach. Now, to be honest, I have no say in this because it's not fair to the Bleach community. I haven't reviewed Bleach. I kept up with it, but I have no right to talk about it. I might give my thoughts when he does. This guy, however, needs to let off some steam. So you know what? The floor is yours.
Thank you. My first thoughts on the Bleach ending was disappointment. And not for reasons a lot of people are disappointed for. Because most people are going to be disappointed because it was very unsatisfying. And it was. It was not a very satisfying ending. I am really upset because Ichigo ends up with Orihime. I know that's not a main focus of the actual series at all. There's like maybe 2% romance in the entire series. But I have to just say this. There was no actual romantic chemistry between Ichigo and Orihime. Okay? It was very forced at the end.
It was one-sided. Orihime showed that she had feelings for Ichigo, but Ichigo never showed any special feelings for Orihime.
You're right. The only type of relationship that we see Ichigo try to pursue with Orihime is one of friendship. Even after the 17-month time skip, which is the perfect time for Orihime to make her move on Ichigo because he's literally not doing anything else other than odd jobs. If she really wanted to make a move on him, that would have been the time. And if that was the case, I wouldn't have liked it, but I would have accepted it if after the 17-month time skip, they were an item.
What I thought you would be more upset about, because you vented about this 2 weeks ago.
What's that?
Is that Renji and Rukia ended up together.
I am not done.
I just want to channel it towards that because I thought that would piss you off more.
That pisses me off a lot because Renji had his chance. He did. He had his chance some 70 plus years ago when they were both in the academy. He let Rukia go. I mean, there's no coming back from that. There really isn't. Because once you've let something go, you lose the right to pursue that again because you let them go. If you really, really cared for them enough that it would pain you not to be together with her for many years, because we see it in the series that he regrets it, but he shouldn't have done it in the first place. And I feel like he ruined his chance. And with Ichigo and Rukia, I was a total shipper of Ichiruki. I still am. Okay? There is a lot of chemistry between them, both as comrades, as battle partners, and I even think romantic. Because it may not be obvious, but there are very subtle hints in there that they really cared deeply for each other. For instance, when Ichigo was in his rut, right after he first truly discovered the hollow inside of him back when he was in Karakura Town, it wasn't Orihime that broke him out of that rut, it was Rukia. Rukia stormed up to him, basically slapped the shit out of him, and knocked him out of that funk. And that's not something that an ordinary person could do. It's something you have a very special connection to. And another thing is, in Japan, in Japanese, the language itself, honorifics are pretty much everything. And you have certain personality types like Ichigo's, who's very brass, you know, he's very blunt. He doesn't really use honorifics, but Rukia, who was taught that type of proper respect, to not use any honorifics at all and just go with his first name, which signifies an intimate relationship, it's telling. You know, it's a very telling sign that she has a lot of respect for him and she cares a lot for him. And we see Rukia go extremely out of her way to help him from this sense of like duty and companionship. And I think there was just more of a spark between Ichigo and Rukia than there was between Ichigo and Orihime.
To play devil's advocate, because eventually, once this is up, someone will put this in the comment section if we don't say it.
Of course.
So I'm going to bite the bullet, toss it out now. You gave the example of when Rukia snaps Ichigo out of his funk in Karakura Town after the hollow thing.
Right.
Good. Someone will say, well, what about when it was Orihime's voice calling for help that forced Ichigo literally back to life and into his Vastalorde form during the fight with Ulquiorra.
Well, that's because, in my personal opinion, his whole reason for being there was to rescue Orihime, because Orihime was a precious friend of his, and Ichigo's got this protector's mindset. And basically, that's his ultimate goal, to save Orihime from Las Noches.
Fair enough.
You know, and so, I mean, some people can take that as a type of romantic connection, but again, it's very one-sided that Orihime is in love with, obviously is in love with Ichigo, but you know, there was never any hint of romantic between Ichigo and Orihime before that. When you see Ichigo and Rukia, you can see a type of sexual tension between them, just from the way they interact with each other, always bickering with each other and stuff like that. That's because they have very similar personalities.
You could argue, though, that just by the weight of the history that Rukia and Renji share, even though he did fumble it pretty
that he
damn
does have
bad,
an advantage.
he has a time advantage. There's a nostalgic thing.
True, but you have to
between them.
remember that there was a period of time where they didn't speak for over 40 years.
You could also hint that Tite Kubo might have been building to it, mainly because anytime that Ichigo and his friends and Renji was always part of the group that went off to fight somewhere, Rukia and Renji would end up being in closer proximity fighting together than Ichigo and Rukia.
That's not always true, though.
In Las Noches?
In Las Noches,
in
actually,
Hueco Mundo?
no, not in either one of those. They came to Hueco Mundo to follow them together, but you have to remember they are both in the Soul Society. And I get it. People can argue that, oh, they're both in the Soul Society, they see each other more often. But as we've seen before, Ichigo travels to the Soul Society very often. It's not uncommon for him to go there for asinine reasons. You know, we've seen him go there for what we see, no reason at all. Like, there's literally no reason for him to be there, other than just him being there. We've seen that in both omakes in the manga, fillers in the anime, even the anime itself.
Right.
You know, and the manga. We've seen him just show up for no apparent reason other than to just happen to be there at the time for something important to go down. Because sometimes it's been shown that sometimes he'll visit a few of the captains.
Aside from the romantic issue, which I grant you is
it was too forced, but we're gonna move slightly past that. We might touch back up, I think, later.
What I found disconcerting, and it's not Chichikubo's fault. It's been obvious that Shonen Jump has been pushing for him to end the series, hurrying to the ending.
Right.
It still felt so incredibly rushed.
Yes.
And
there were so many unanswered questions. Like, we don't know what happened to Urahara, to Grimmjow, to Yoruichi. We can assume that they died, but at the same time, in Bleach, with Urahara especially, we can't assume anything.
I mean, we know that certain people died.
Yes.
We know Ukitake died because we saw
Kyoraku at his grave.
Yeah, having sake with his tombstone. But there are other captains who obviously got replaced, so we can only assume died, like the wolf guy, Komaru.
He didn't die. He just lost his anthropomorphic form. He's a regular wolfman, but he's not humanoid anymore.
Whatever.
But yeah, he was replaced. Who replaced him again?
I don't know.
I think it was Lisa. Anyways, a few of the captains have been replaced. We saw that 10 years passed.
Out of everything in the last, I'd say 2 chapters, but especially in this one, where I was like, bullshit, you should have built up to this. First of all, the wrap up with the fight with Yuhaba.
Weak. Just weak.
Really weak. Now, I just want to point out, I've watched a lot of reviewers, I don't think anybody's actually pointed this out. Even in the wiki, they don't address this. Yuhaba's name alone.
How do you pronounce it? How is it spelled?
It's supposed to be pronounced Yuhaba, but the letters used are, I think, Y, W,
A, C, H.
Is it? Yeah, might be. It's a parody or a reference to the Tetragrammaton.
Okay.
It's the in Jewish tradition, it's the 4 letters, the 4 consonant letters for the name of God.
Right.
Okay? So this is a big reference to the fact that this guy, from the very beginning, when we first introduced him,
was meant to be godly.
He was supposed to be OP as fuck.
And we see that.
We do see it.
And the way that they defeat him, I mean, it had cool moments. There were very cool moments, but overall the fight felt rushed. It felt unfinished.
It was the out of any of the shonen manga that I've seen so far, it has the pinnacle of Deus Ex Machinas.
Yeah.
Where it was obvious that by himself, with his powers, even with all the upgrades and super bankais that Ichigo and his friends had acquired over
he wasn't supposed to lose.
Yeah, Yu Habak was gonna win. He could alter the timeline. He could just move from one timeline to another.
It was broken. It was worse than Uchi hacks, honestly. Because at least Uchi hacks,
they're vulnerable.
They are vulnerable. This guy had no obvious vulnerabilities, and the fact it was broken. I hate to interrupt. It was broken because Juhabak explains that Ichigo's Quincy ability was the ability to change the future. That was supposedly the ability that Juhabak had granted him. But then we see that Juhabak can see all futures. All futures.
And if he sees that you're following the pattern of this future, he'll just sidestep to another version of the timeline.
Yeah.
It's a contingency to an infinite degree.
Yeah.
It's like Aizen's I foresee everything, but to an infinite degree. There's nothing Ichigo could have done. And the fact that Ishida and Ishin...
it was Ryuken Ishida and Ishin Kurosaki. We see them briefly. I mean... And
they just... Oh, by the way, we have the exact tool you need to defeat this guy.
That's like... That's just...
It's lazy writing.
It's bad storytelling. I mean, if you want to make this thing that is the ultimate weapon against a specific character, then at least tell us either what it's made of, if it was difficult to make.
They did tell us what it was made of. It was the concentrated... the Ryatsu is so concentrated whenever Yuhabak did the thing where he absorbs the power of a Quincy, of a Stern Ritter, and absorbs it back into himself.
Mm-hmm.
The concentrated Ryatsu leaves a shard of silver, and if you forge it into an arrowhead, it temporarily stops the ability.
Right.
But there was no build up to it.
Yeah, it was just like out of nowhere. It was
like there was build up, for instance, to a Shikai and a Bankai.
Yes.
Those are weapons that we knew were coming. We just didn't know exactly what they did or how they worked. Things that I wish were further expanded on. Just a few things.
Go ahead.
One, it's the actual nature of the Oken. They just say it's the power of Squad Zero. Right. But from the way Aizen was building it up, I thought it
was a literal item to use as a key.
Exactly.
It's the bones of
Squad Zero.
Squad Zero. That didn't make sense too much because is it the current members? Or is it fallen members?
And it's never expanded or elaborated on. Another thing that I wish might have been given more...
I'm going to cut you off real quick. One thing that was confirmed, though, is that spirits can have children.
That's because Renji and
That
Renji
was
and
confirmed. It was always...
Why did I say Renji and Ichigo? Renji and Rukia.
We don't ship Ichi Renji.
I do, hell yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. Ignore him. There's nothing.
They have the exact same personality.
There's nothing inherently wrong.
The Zangetsu being Yuhabak's younger form and the powers. That, I got it. It just needed to be further elaborated on.
Yeah.
I got it, but his motivation, why did he help Ichigo, but at the same time hold him back?
No. This I can't explain. Well, I can explain how he explained it. He explained it how, prior to Ichigo, mastering his Bankai and stuff like that, the Quincy Zangetsu wanted to replace his real Zangetsu, the hollow inside of him, so that way he just wanted to have enough power so that Ichigo could do what he needed to do, and then he wanted to stop Ichigo from being in danger. But then Ichigo, with his upfront and very protective personality, kept seeking danger. He kept doing things that led him into danger, that he eventually stopped holding Ichigo back and instead working together with Ichigo.
I just felt it needed a bit more explanation.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
Flesh that out a bit, because we've already got used to the idea this is Zangetsu, now you're telling me it's not.
It's not Zangetsu. I mean, we went, 400 plus chapters? No, 366 chapters or something like that. Thinking that it was Zangetsu that was his Zanpakuto, and we even saw him go through like 2 or 3 different changes. And then we learned that, oh, I'm not your Zanpakuto.
And this was in this new chapter, this last one.
What's that?
And it always bugged me because it was never really explained.
What's that?
What the hell did Yhwach want? Why was he doing this? It was never explained why
Yeah,
he
he
was doing
just kind of wanted to rule things, but for
then,
what purpose?
But now in this chapter we get he wants to end the fear of death. That was his explanation. He wants, by destroying both afterworlds or afterlives or whatever.
Both, yeah.
If unifying the world of the living, all the worlds of the dead, including Wakamundo, the Soul Society, Hell.
He would eliminate death. That's kind of naive.
It's naive, and also it was not
properly explained.
Because if there was some sort of like empathetic aspect to Yhwach where he's like, I'm sorry, I don't want you to die, or don't.
Yeah, I mean that would create this type of.
If at least in one scene, Yhwach turned to one of the Stern Ritters as they're dying and helps them slip away, helps them be like, don't be afraid, don't fear death. Your time dead will be over soon. Some bit of a hint or some bit of empathy that you're like, this character has a thing against the concept of death and the fear that it instills.
It's just fuck everybody.
But Aizen just kind of like throws an explanation. Oh, by the way, there's a reason behind all this, and was.
I mean, at least Aizen. At least when we were dealing with Aizen, we knew he was a megalomaniac and he was egocentric. We knew that, and he knew that. His entire goal was to be the ruler. Just to be the ruler for being the ruler's sake, and we got
not a complex villain, but
we got
understandable.
That. We understood that. We not empathize, but we can understand where he's why he's doing it.
It's not a complex motivation. It's one that's easy to grasp.
Yes.
But with Yhwach, all we see of him, like his motivation to us, looking from the outside, is there's this guy who doesn't seem to like the Soul Reapers too much.
And that's really the only explanation we got, that he wanted to eliminate Soul Reapers. That's the initial reason why he was doing things, that as we were supposed to understand.
And then this threw me for a loop, and it was never explained properly, and it bugs me. When he first shows up in the Soul King's palace, he refers to the Soul King as father.
That was never explained. We don't even know. Okay.
Did he mean that metaphorically, literally, or is he a branch? And that's another thing. They changed the origin and nature of Quincy's. Quincy's were supposed to be just humans with a strong connection to spirit pressure, and they could wield it.
Yeah.
That's what they were. But then it's explained that Yhwach simply grants or pumps out his powers, and it instills into people, and then later on he can just, when they die, reabsorb their power. He is the father of all Quincy's. But it seems like to me, and I think to the audience, that being a Quincy is genetic. There is a genetic aspect to it, right?
Right.
Because
it seems somewhat genetic, as we can see there was actual clan arranged marriages, and we can see that it is usually a trait that is inherited, but that doesn't always seem to be. That doesn't seem like it's something that's a 100% rule, because we can, in theory, Yhwach can grant power to anybody.
Yeah,
which would create.
It's what he did with the blonde guy, sword guy.
Oh yeah, I guess.
I forget his. You know, they're German. I don't remember a single one of their names. I know the titles are Sternritter, and the group is called the Vandenreich. That's about it. That's all I got. I felt like, and this is probably, correct me if I'm wrong, it just seems that way, especially towards the end of the Vandenreich arc, towards like the end of it, with the exception of Yhwach versus Ichigo.
Versus Bleach.
versus Bleach.
He's fighting the fourth wall now.
It seemed like every Sternritter
had the exact skill set to battle specific Shinigami.
Exactly.
Like for Bazby, for Hitsugaya, and the Fear guy for Byakuya and Rukia, because he fought Byakuya first.
For me, the pinnacle was Nanao versus the god dude that can has the sniper.
Right.
That she has a sword that we've never seen before. It's a family heirloom. That it happens to have the exact mirror powers.
But then, why is it that her clan has one Zanpakuto for the entire family. That is something that I thought was...
It felt too convenient.
Yeah, it was very convenient, and it didn't make sense with what we knew about Zanpakuto at the time. Like, we know that every Shinigami is supposed to have their own unique Zanpakuto. That was established at the very beginning of Bleach. Families can have similar Zanpakutos with Engetsu and Zangetsu, but that it's not the same Zanpakuto passed through the line.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm pretty sure when Ichigo's son unlocks his Shikai, it'll end in Getsu. I mean, it's 95%. No, actually, make that 99% sure because his mother's not a Shinigami.
An example of where I think the writing was good, where it felt like it was going to fall into that pattern, but it didn't, was that one freaky dude who could change his resistance to everything, to poison, to damage, to spirit pressure, to everything. He could say, once he takes a little bit of it, he can say, I have 100% resistance to this. That guy. When Yudoichi... That did seem overpowered, and it seemed illogical. And then Yudoichi shows up and has the perfect counter, except he doesn't. That was actually a surprise, a curveball. First, it was Urahara showed up, and he had a perfect counter, but it got overwhelmed. Right. And then Yudoichi shows up. She has a counter. Her speed is the counter. Faster, she can attack him faster than he can set up his immunity to it. And then, when that proved that it was not going to work, Grimmjow shows up and tears his heart out.
Yeah. What I thought, going into that fight, I really liked Urahara's Bankai. I really felt like it fit his character, and it's something that I think the Tite Kubo had planned since the concept of Bankai was introduced, because we've seen him explain before to Yasutoa Chad that his Bankai was not suitable for training. It's a very destructive Bankai in the sense that it literally deconstructs things.
I feel like the Bleach manga, it's good. I like the Bleach manga, but I feel this is something...
There were a lot of different points where it diminished in quality at several points.
There were dips.
Thank you. There were dips in quality throughout the series at several points, and sometimes it wasn't even the slow parts. A lot of the faster paced parts felt like they weren't really developed. Like that, especially in this last part of the Stern Ritter arc, there were so many fights with so many people that I don't remember them all.
Exactly.
I don't remember. There's only like maybe 3 fights that I can actually recall off the top. 4 of them maybe off the top of my head.
Okay, bringing it back to the original point of this video, the last chapter.
Yeah, because
we're going on 30 minutes now.
Yeah, we kind of dipped into a lot of different.
Yeah, like that's something separate for a different thing. This drove me nuts because it was built up at the end of last chapter, and then it culminated with nothing in this chapter. The remnants of Yhwach's power getting destroyed by what? What was it?
If I remember correctly, Ichigo's son, his name is Kazui, I think it is. He went exploring throughout, I don't even remember, I think it was Karakura Town. And he found the last remnants of Yhwach's powers, and he grasped it in his hands, which destroyed the rest of his powers, which I didn't really get.
But then why were Byakuya and Mayuri and everybody in the Soul Society reacting to that exact same power? They saw the power in Spirit Society, in the Soul Society.
If it was in the real world, why was it just a small little orb?
And when we see it in the Soul Society, it
seems pretty big. It seems like it's got a pretty big diameter.
So the nature of the power is never really explained. It seems like Kazui reaches in, grabs the power through the Soul Society, and then it just dispels.
Yeah, it seems like this weird sort of portal type thing.
Because then we see Rukia's kid pop out of the same...
Ichika, I think her name is.
Ichika.
Which I'm totally guessing is a homage to Ichigo.
And I think we can agree, she's adorable.
She is adorable. I'm gonna give Tite Kubo that. She's adorable. Going back to the pairing that Tite Kubo decided to pick, near the end of the chapter, he decided to put a close-up between Ichigo and Rukia again.
But do you remember why they were fighting in that thing?
Because of Rukia's
daughter.
She didn't seem to care too much.
Like
because she's
kinda,
a Shinigami. She's like she
oh,
can
yeah,
handle any,
just wander.
she can handle any human opponent.
Oh, so now you're turning your kid into a bully that picks on humans, huh? Just because he's stronger. So they start arguing about that, and they have this perfect shot of they're like in each other's faces like this.
And that's sexual tension right there. Like you could
maybe the problem here is that you have very complex and probably not healthy romantic relationships in your past that have led you to think that that is the natural state of romance.
That I never said it was the natural state of romance. But given their character types and the personalities they have, they complement each other. Again, because they each push each other forward. I mean, we see Ichigo pushing Orihime forward.
By that logic, Renji is the perfect person for her.
No.
I'll give you 2 reasons. Now, I much prefer the Ichigo Rukia pairing, but I can see the logic behind it.
I can too.
Here's my 2 reasons.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's my 2 reasons. 1, Renji and Rukia are ostensibly immortal. They will continue to age at a negligible pace for the next millennia.
Right.
Rukia and Orihime are human. They have Shinigami powers.
Rukia.
Orihime, sorry.
Ichigo's the only one that has Shinigami powers.
Sorry, but he ages normally.
But he's half Shinigami. Okay, he is
biologically, but he's not dead,
Shinigami.
so he doesn't age.
But if we,
or he does age.
Okay, okay. But when he does die naturally,
he will become a Shinigami in that world. But while they're there, they might as well have the 2 humans. First reason, okay, because Orihime is human.
Yes, she's a regular human with just spiritual powers.
Okay. The second reason is one that you kind of hinted to.
What's
the fact that Rukia and Ichigo push each other because of their personalities. Renji is essentially a perfect foil. He is a redhead version of Ichigo. The same gung-ho personality.
Okay, but no. But at the same time, he never pushed Rukia the same way that Ichigo pushed Rukia to get better. Okay?
Rukia pushed herself more than Ichigo did.
Okay, touche. I'll give you that.
She did it out of necessity to help her friends, Ichigo included. But when they were in the early academy, and especially when they were in the Rukon district, Renji, more than any of the other friends who, again, I don't understand how, but they died.
And they had bodies to bear.
Again, isn't it the spirit world?
It's inconsistent, okay. But they did have bodies.
Dead people died after being dead. Whatever. And that's another thing. Why is the main job of the Shinigami forsaken after the first arc?
Yeah.
Of guiding souls to the afterlife? Can we agree that in the spirit world, neither Rukia nor Renji have corporeal forms? They don't use Gigais in the Soul Society.
Okay. In the sense of corporeal, that it's a living, like, human body, no.
Yes, it would, that body minus Gigai in the human world would be invisible and intangible.
Right.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So,
right.
Would their child, who was, I'm assuming, born a dead ghost spirit person,
born a soul
without a physical form in the human world, need her own Gigai?
Yes.
To interact with.
Are we talking about Rukia and Renji's kid?
Yes.
Yeah, she would need a Gigai to interact with the human world as a human would.
Okay. I just the logistics of spirit sex notwithstanding.
Okay.
Would she need the same?
This is actually an interesting fan theory that I've seen, and actually several fan fictions going on. I'd take everything fan theory with a grain of salt, but there are certain things that just make sense. In the fanon, only people who have a large amount of spiritual energy could actually conceive a child by like splitting their own spiritual energy in order to form a new soul. That's
so no hanky panky.
No, I mean that they do the hanky panky, but they need to have a high enough spiritual energy in order for it to actually fertilize. That's fanon. I'm not saying that's canon. It is fanon. It's definitely a fan
These
theory.
are things that Tite Kubo should have explained, one, how do dead people die?
I mean, I understand the concept, but there's no consistency in how they die. We've seen them disintegrate. We've seen them die and leave bodies.
We've seen them just die from their injuries.
Yeah.
Soul Reapers die because they've been stabbed to death or blown up.
Yeah, there's no consistency in how a
and what
soul
happens to
dies.
them? Okay, is
No,
the
no,
Soul Society
that is explained.
Is it a
explained.
purgatory?
No, it is an afterlife, but Bleach believes in the cycle of reincarnation.
So the soul goes back.
Yes, so when you die in the real world, in the human world, you get sent to Soul Society where you live in an indeterminate amount of time until you die in the spirit world, in which case your soul gets recycled in the cycle of reincarnation.
Okay.
That was explained, and that's it.
Why do souls need to eat?
They don't. Only souls with spiritual pressure need to eat.
Then how come
Luxury.
How come the kids that Rukia and Renji grew up with, who had no spiritual pressure, how come they starved to death and got buried?
They starved to death?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Maybe they had some spiritual pressure, but not enough to actually form energy. Because I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility.
And how come they age? How come Shinigami age? Because we see people like Genryusa Yamamoto was young when he became a Shinigami captain, and he's an old fucking man.
I mean, it's explained.
And Hitsugaya is the same.
It's explained that Shinigami age at a completely different rate to humans. It's never explained the rate exactly, like how many times a human ages faster or a Shinigami ages slower than a human. It's pretty inconsistent. Because we've seen, like, within a span of a few years, Rukia and Renji, they grew up. They looked like they were in their late teens, or at least Renji did. But
short jokes.
And
really?
but then we see Hitsugaya has been a Shinigami for at least 100 years,
and he looks still, more or less the same.
I mean, he carries himself like someone who's an older teenager, but he has the physique of maybe a 14-year-old.
I'm gonna have to reread all of Bleach. I'm gonna buy the manga. Once I finish buying all of Naruto and all of Fullmetal Alchemist, I'm gonna start buying up the rest of Bleach because I'm on volume 22, and there are 61 volumes. I have to buy all those.
I don't know, something like that.
Bleach is worth reading. It's a good manga. Out of the
big three, it is the lowest in tier.
Yeah. It's the least consistent. It had, I think, when Bleach was at its best, it was amazing. Good. It was
like when the Arankars were first introduced, like at the end of the Soul Society arc.
I think that was
was probably
the minute Aizen does this and floats off into Hueco Mundo. That to me ended
that's when it plateaued.
Pinnacle. Yeah,
that's when it plateaued for a while, and then when they got to like Las Noches,
it started to dip a little.
It was still pretty high up there, but you could see it slowly declining.
I think the moment after the Soul Society arc, the best moments out of all of them were Ichigo versus Grimja and Ichigo versus Ulquiorra. All of the fights in Fate Karakura Town with the top three espadas.
The one I would give you credit, give them a good rep is the one with Tia Harabel.
No.
Versus
I thought that was too perfect. Too perfect a setup. For me, out of all the three big fights that they have there,
really,
Baragon versus Soifone and that one to me, it was by far the most creative power.
Yeah.
Out of all of the espadas is senescence, the ability to rot things to death, to escalate time until things naturally decay and wither away. That's something we don't ever see anything like it again.
Yeah.
That was creative, and Soifone being a ninja whose Bankai is a fucking missile.
Bazooka. It's like a bazooka missile.
It's a bazooka. It has the range of a missile. It has the... No, it wouldn't be a bazooka because a bazooka is an anti-tank weapon.
Okay. It's got long-range capabilities. It is super loud, and it actually looks like a nuke.
It has the shape of a nuke, yes, but it's held like an RPG.
Yeah. So it's like a fat man in Fallout. For those who understand the reference.
So I think, in summation, is Bleach worth your time? Yes. Does it have issues?
Of
yes.
course.
It has very glaring issues.
Yes. Very, very glaring issues. I mean,
but then again, to be fair,
a lot of things do.
Yeah.
Naruto had its very glaring issues. Dragon Ball Z has.
We could spend another
hour talking about many different animes and the many issues they had. There are certain animes that have very few issues, but all anime have some.
Yeah, like even
there is no perfect anime. Even Fullmetal Alchemist has its issues. Elfen Lied has its issues. Attack on Titan has its issues.
People are like afraid to even mention things like Dragon Ball Z. Everybody loves Dragon Ball Z because it's a classic, but the fact that it is overly simplistic, it does have basically the same story.
And something that's interesting and something that we may do another video and sometime in the future is he loves Dragon Ball Z. He has seen it in its entirety from like the beginning. I never got into Dragon Ball Z, so that we see it from two different viewpoints, and maybe someday in the future we'll make a video discussing these different contrasts.
Yeah, maybe
he has nostalgia working for him. I don't.
So what I would want to do with you is if we could watch like the first series, Dragon Ball, and do like a review of each arc, of each story arc,
I would do for it.
Yeah, because I think you could get behind the pervy comedy and the slapstick a little bit better than planet destroying farts.
Is a little too OP for me to be earnestly interested into it storyline wise, while regular Dragon Ball is still slightly more realistic in its setting, in its power scale, I should say. And its power scale, it's a lot more realistic than in Dragon Ball Z.
And in terms of creativity, it's got Dragon Ball Z beat. I mean, where else do you have a kid with a tail and a magic extending stick taking a shape-altering bunny and throwing it to the moon? Like, the bunny turns people into carrots.
That's funny. So
Goku takes the bunny, grabs the power pole, flies to the moon, drops the bunny on the moon, and comes back to Earth. Which, by the way, breaks the canon because Frieza states that Goku can't breathe in space, and this guy, unless I'm mistaken, and the moon is, I don't know, underwater, is in space.
I don't know. I mean, in Naruto they can breathe in space. I think that was stupid, but that's another video for another time.
Every anime and every manga has issues. That doesn't mean it's not worth watching.
Yes.
Can it be jarring and break you out of the reality of the series when you get up into a plot hole?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of plot holes in Bleach. I'm not going to deny that.
And that's something that happens a lot in shonen manga, especially because you're more interested in the enjoyability, the fun, the fights.
Right. And especially with shonen manga that never planned to be as long as Bleach did. Bleach planned to be... The Tite Kubo planned Bleach to be a very short manga series. It was actually supposed to end after the Soul Society arc. But due to popular demand, he continued it, and...
Same thing with Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball.
Exactly.
But you can tell, and I want to give this to Tite Kubo wholeheartedly, he was, I think, out of the big three, the best at foreshadowing.
Yes.
For instance, the fact people were really, really annoyed, for instance, when Sosuke Aizen said that I've been watching you from the very beginning, from before you were born, I've been planning all this, and people were like, bullshit. But then when we find out that he is seriously everything in one, he is a human with Shinigami and Quincy powers. Yeah, of course he's interested in that stuff. He's going to follow Ichigo.
Yeah.
His Quincy powers, people thought that came out of nowhere, but Ichigo's bed sheets are a Quincy cross.
Really? I didn't notice that.
You hadn't noticed that. Look at his bed sheets. It is a blue sheet with a white cross, just like the one that every Quincy wears.
I might have to go back and look at that. But, I mean... Yeah, I mean, Bleach... Tite Kubo was great at foreshadowing. He had the most consistent art style.
And probably the best.
Yeah, and I mean, it was consistently, like... pretty good. I mean, it was fairly realistic throughout the whole...
And it's not just that. I think the cinematic aspect of the way he did the boxes the way he did the panels,
Yes.
was easily the best.
It was both a good thing and a bad thing. It was good because it really created this flowing storyline, but it was bad because he would spend entire boxes, entire pages of nothing but just pictures, and it really stalled the storytelling in a sense where it did feel like Bleach was dragging along because he was spending his time drawing these amazing, they are amazing cover page, full page spreads.
And the one thing I feel, this is something Tite Kubo did less than Kishimoto, but when he did do it, he went all out. And that's explaining. Kishimoto, anytime that somebody used a new power, immediately either the character that used it or the person that it was used on would spend the next 5 pages explaining in detail how the technique worked, why it worked, and you're like, no, I can figure it out. Just let me enjoy the fight.
Right.
When Tite Kubo does it, it happens less often. But holy crap, especially when it's Aizen. He goes into like 3 chapters explaining how he planned everything from the very beginning, how this technique can change every aspect of reality down to the last micro drop.
All in all, it's definitely worth your time. On the last note though, Ichiruki for the win. That's the note I'm leaving off on. I'll take it to him.
My last note, wrapping all this up, and I'm gonna be doing a fuck ton of editing at the end of this. We have been bitching and harping on the end of Bleach all this time, but please do not think that we hate Bleach. We don't.
We love Bleach.
We love Bleach. Bleach is...
And we think it deserved better. That's why we were so upset.
Out of the big 3, it had the best hype, and then it
failed to deliver.
Fan reactions were so poor. People just kind of harped on it like we're doing, but with much more vitriol. So it led to it losing a lot of popularity, and I think caused this ending because Bleach wasn't making the money Shonen Jump wanted, so they had to wrap it up. I firmly think, and I hope you guys will agree with me on this, if fan support is strong enough, with an anime reboot or an anime completion in the way that, you know, Inuyasha had the final act, if Bleach has the final arc of Bleach,
the 1,000-year war arc,
done, and then have a more, even if it's a filler ending, a more satisfactory, better paced ending, it would cement Bleach as one of the best battle manga and battle anime in the shonen genre.
In fact, I even think a good ending would be no pairings.
Yeah. No
pairings would be is still a good ending because it's open to interpretation.
Yeah. Maybe keep the kid. Keep the kid though.
What,
she's cute.
Ichigo?
She's cute.
Except give her orange hair.
Give her orange hair.
Yeah.
On that note, we leave you. I hope you guys enjoyed.